Imagine standing in a bar during the final seconds of a championship game. The roar makes the floor tremble, beer spills everywhere, and strangers embrace in a frantic frenzy just because a ball rolled across a line. In the middle of that fiery chaos, you stand still. You see the flushed faces, the bulging veins in their necks, and you feel a sense of total detachment. You don't hate them, you just find it strange. In that moment, you don't feel lonely, you feel out of place. Many would call you cold, but the truth is, your brain is operating on an entirely different frequency. You see things exactly as they are in their naked essence. 22 men fighting over a toy on a patch of grass, not a life or death holy war. You possess an incredibly strict emotional filter, where joy never comes from borrowing the success of others. You only truly feel a resonance when your own hands create the result, or your own intellect solves the problem. Most importantly, your identity is something too expensive to loan out. You cannot force yourself to say the word "we" for a team you don't own or operate. To you, dependence on the crowd is a shackle rather than a point of pride. Don't try to dissolve into that crowd. Let me show you why this sense of displacement is actually a privilege that evolution reserved just for you. The reality is, each of our brains has a very different way of connecting to the world. Most people possess a mechanism I call always-on emotional Wi-Fi. When they are in an excited crowd, their brains automatically scan and synchronize with the surrounding frequency. That's why they can jump for joy or burst into tears over a goal. They're simply sharing a heartbeat with millions of others through an invisible bond. But your brain operates like an isolated cable connection. It doesn't sync automatically. For you to feel joy or sadness, that data must pass through an extremely rigorous verification filter in the prefrontal cortex. While the crowd screams, your brain stands apart and asks a very instinctive question. Does this actually impact my life? If the answer is no, it refuses to authorize the release of dopamine. You cannot feel second-hand joy from the success of a stranger on a screen because your nervous system prioritizes authenticity. You only truly feel exhilarated when you are the one behind the wheel, the one solving a problem at work, or the one reaching a personal milestone. While others enjoy the resonance of the crowd, you enjoy absolute control over your own emotions. Imagine the world is an ocean with massive emotional waves sweeping everything away. The crowd consists of surfers riding those waves together. You, however, are not standing on the waves. You are a coral reef deep on the ocean floor. No matter how wild the surface becomes, you maintain your own stillness and steadfastness. You aren't broken. You're simply a system that prioritizes empirical experience, where joy is never something that can be borrowed from anyone else. If you traveled back tens of thousands of years to the fires of primitive tribes, you would understand why nature intentionally kept people like you around. In the history of survival, rituals and simulated confrontations, the ancestors of modern sports, played a vital role. They created bonds, forged the warrior spirit, and helped the tribe unite against enemies. Most tribe members needed to be swept up in that intoxication, to be ready to sacrifice themselves. However, a tribe where everyone loses control due to excitement is an extremely vulnerable tribe. You are the one evolution assigned the role of the sober guardian. While the rest of the tribe is busy shouting around the fire or celebrating a perceived victory, someone needs to stand at the edge of the darkness. Someone must keep a cool head to look into the brush and see if a tiger is stalking them. Someone must stay alert enough to realize food reserves are running low, even while everyone else is drunk on an illusion of power. Your indifference towards simulated wars is not a weakness, it is a high-level survival strategy. You are the one who preserves energy for practical goals. You are the one who keeps the tribe from drifting too far from reality. While the crowd is preoccupied with symbols, you are focused on substance. We need passionate warriors, but we also desperately need calm observers like you to keep the ship of society from capsizing every time the collective emotion hits a fever pitch. You carry within you the power of stillness, a kind of strength that doesn't need a cheering section to exist. First of all, drop the idea of trying to force yourself to like what the crowd likes. Trying to memorize player names or offside rules just to have something to talk about is like trying to install heavy software on an incompatible operating system, only to make your processor overheat and burn out faster. The core principle here is fix the environment, don't fix yourself. Instead of trying to be a fake fan, accept and utilize the guardian role that evolution gave you. I want you to try a simple but powerful micro-habit I call the curious observer technique. Next time you're surrounded by boisterous talk about sports, instead of suffering in silence or feeling out of place, shift your attention from the game to the people. Instead of asking about the score, ask a psychological question. What is it about this game that makes everyone feel so excited? Or what does it actually feel like to belong to a huge community like this? By doing this, you're no longer an outsider. You become an anthropologist observing the world. You maintain the cool head and stillness of a coral reef, yet you remain warm enough to create a bond with your tribe without losing your identity. You don't need to be in the game. You only need to understand the game. Finally, remember that your difference is not a problem to be solved, but an identity to be respected. In a world that constantly tries to pull you into collective intoxication, your sobriety is a necessary anchor. You don't need to wear anyone else's colors to belong to this world. You belong to yourself, and that is the most stable position of all. Never feel guilty when your grandstands are silent, because the greatest victories in life usually don't require a final whistle or the applause of thousands. They happen quietly through your efforts, in the real value you create, and in the way you smile as you walk through the crowd without being swept away. You are not lost in your silence. You are the one keeping the lighthouse lit while the sea outside is raging. Share in the comments below the moment you felt the most out of place in a wild crowd. I really want to hear the stories of guardians like you. And if you're curious about why some people's brains crave solitude more than parties, stay tuned for our next video.